Welcome to the USDA Civil Rights Requirements and Child Nutrition Programs training. This training presentation is developed and provided by the Oregon Department of Education. This session is a review of the USDA Civil Rights Requirements for Child Nutrition Programs. All sponsors of child nutrition programs, including the Child and Adult Care Food Program, National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, Summer Food Service Program, Special Milk Program, and USDA Foods must comply with the Federal Civil Rights Program as part of their agreement with the Oregon Department of Education. Civil rights requirements are intended to ensure benefits of child nutrition programs are made available to all eligible participants in a non-discriminatory manner. All sponsors receiving federal monies must implement the civil rights requirements to be eligible for the program. Discrimination is defined as different treatment to people which makes a distinction of one person or a group of persons from others, either intentionally, by neglect, or by the actions or lack of actions based on the protected classes. The federal government, including USDA, has the following protected classes: race, color, national origin, sex, age, and disability. Discrimination can be easily remembered by thinking of the 4 Ds. Discrimination is when an individual or group of individuals are delayed receiving benefits or services that others receive, denied benefits or services that others receive, treated differently than others to their disadvantage, and given disparate treatment, something which does not seem discriminatory but has discriminatory impact in practice. This slide shows the long version of the non-discrimination statement. Sponsors must use the long non-discrimination statement on all publications that are over 1 page. 1 page equals 8.5 by 11 front and back that mention USDA child nutrition programs. The long statement must be in the same size print as the text of the document. The USDA non-discrimination long statement contains numerous protected classes which will not apply to all programs. The 6 protected classes relevant to Oregon child nutrition programs remains limited to race, color, national origin, sex, age, and disability. The short version of the non-discrimination is shown on the slide. Federal regulations allow use of a shorter non-discrimination statement on program material mentioning USDA or child nutrition programs if the material is 1 page or less in length. 1 page equals 8.5 by 11 front and back. For example, brochures, coupons, electronic benefit cards, menus, and flyers. The short statement must be in the same size print as the text of the document. USDA produces a poster with the long and short non-discrimination statements in English and Spanish. Sponsors must place the current and Justice for All poster in a conspicuous area such as the meal service area, school lobby, or in the main office. The poster must be visible to all potential and participating program recipients such as children, students, and adults in daycare, as well as to teachers, caregivers, and parents. Sponsors may request posters from the ODE CNP office. Failure to post the current poster will be a finding during a review. The non-discrimination statement must be included on program materials such as enrollment forms, menus, employee handbooks, newsletters, brochures, parent or student handbooks, print or broadcast ads, flyers, and websites. Sponsors are to collect racial and ethnic data annually and maintain the data on file. Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program may require to see this information at any time. Additionally, Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program will review the racial and ethnic data during administrative reviews. Please do not send racial and ethnic data to the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program unless requested. The Child and Adult Care Food Program and Summer Food Service Program have specific forms to report the information and keep in your file. The form can be found on the ODE CNP Civil Rights webpage. An important point to note regarding racial and ethnic data collection is that it is optional for participants to provide you with racial and ethnic information. However, it is a requirement for sponsors to collect and maintain racial and ethnic data on an annual basis. Sponsors may collect racial and ethnic data for the participants from information provided on confidential income statements, CIS, or meal application that household members complete. School districts may also use student enrollment information. Racial and ethnic data is a two-step process. Separate categories will be used when collecting and reporting race and ethnicity of participants. You may collect this information either from enrollment records or actual attendance. The information is recorded from a specific point in time, for instance, 1 day or 1 month, depending on what information you will have available to you. Ethnicity is determined first, then racial designations second. Sponsors should provide and document civil rights training for staff annually and train new staff on civil rights when they start their position. This training will provide staff with an understanding of civil rights compliance requirements, including how to identify and handle complaints according to the procedures, as well as understanding that individuals have the right to file a complaint. Child nutrition sponsors must provide reasonable accommodations for persons with disabilities. A disability is defined as a physical or mental impairment which substantially limits one or more of the individual's major life activities, has record of such an impairment, or is regarded as having such an impairment. Disabilities are defined based on Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, and Part B of Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. Some examples include orthopedic, visual, speech, hearing impairments, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, cancer, heart disease, food anaphylaxis, a severe food allergy, metabolic diseases such as diabetes. Sponsors are required to provide reasonable accommodations regarding facilities for participants with disabilities. Examples of facility accommodations include accessible parking lots, entrances and exits, halls, elevators, restrooms, service animals, and alternative arrangements for service. Sponsors must also provide appropriate information in alternative formats for persons with disabilities, such as materials in Braille and sign language interpreters. Sponsors must also provide food substitutions for students with disabilities when documented in writing by a licensed physician or state licensed healthcare professional. USDA has special rules that apply to milk substitutions for children with special dietary needs. The Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program staff will review sponsors to ensure compliance with civil rights requirements. Before approving a sponsor for participation in child nutrition programs, a pre-approval review will be conducted. At this time, civil rights compliance is evaluated to determine if the applicant is in compliance with USDA requirements. These requirements are also reviewed as a part of administrative reviews for participating child nutrition sponsors. If ODE CNP identifies civil rights concerns, an additional review could be conducted. If a civil rights finding is made during a review, the sponsor will be notified in writing and be given an opportunity to correct. Steps will be taken immediately to obtain voluntary compliance. For example, if the "And Justice for All" poster is not posted, the sponsor will have the opportunity to post it during the review. In some cases, immediate compliance will not be possible and the sponsor will need to submit documentation, such as a procedure or training documentation, within 30 days of receiving written notice. If corrective action is not completed within 60 days of the finding, the Oregon Department of Education must notify the USDA Region Office. Technical assistance is also provided to assist the sponsor to come into compliance. Examples of noncompliance found on reviews include the sponsor did not post the "And Justice for All" poster in a conspicuous location, not collecting and maintaining racial and ethnic data, not training staff on civil rights requirements and procedures, not including the non-discrimination statement on printed materials and websites, not having the current civil rights complaint form and log on site, and not handling civil rights complaints in accordance with procedures. Any participant or potential participant may submit a civil rights complaint of unequal treatment verbally, in writing, or may be observed. Complainants may choose to directly contact USDA with their complaint, contact Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program with their complaint, or they may notify the sponsor of their complaint. The sponsor must forward all discrimination complaints received regarding child nutrition programs to the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs office within 3 working days. A complaint can be filed within 180 days of the alleged discriminatory action. All sponsors must develop a written civil rights complaint procedure and implement this procedure. Sponsors may adopt the Oregon Department of Education's prototype procedure located on the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition website. If sponsors choose this option, be sure to put your sponsor's name at the top of the procedure, then train all staff on this procedure. The civil rights complaint procedure is as follows. A civil rights complaint is received by the sponsor, either verbally or in writing. Next, the sponsor logs the complaint in the civil rights complaint log. Additionally, the sponsor gives complainant the civil rights complaint form, or the sponsor assists the complainant to complete the civil rights complaint form if needed. If the complainant returns the civil rights complaint form to the sponsor must forward the civil rights complaint form to the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs within 3 working days. Civil rights complaint forms must be readily available at all sites, including the main office if it is not a serving site. The sponsor must make every attempt to help the complainant complete the civil rights complaint form. Reasonable accommodations must be made for complainants with a disability. All discrimination complaints must be documented in the Civil Rights Complaint Log. The Civil Rights Complaint Log must be dated and kept for 3 years plus the current year, even if no complaints have been received. At the end of the fiscal year, please write across the log, "No complaints received," if no complaints were received that year. It is a goal to achieve voluntary compliance when resolving a civil rights finding. However, if needed, USDA recommends using an alternative dispute resolution process. In this process, a neutral third party usually acts as a facilitator to resolve informally a complaint of discrimination through various techniques. It is the responsibility of all sponsors to ensure program access for those with limited English proficiency, LEP. LEP is defined as individuals who have limited ability to read, speak, write, or understand English. Reasonable steps must be taken to ensure meaningful access to programs and activities. Some examples of reasonable accommodations may include providing documents in a variety of languages, providing translation services to those that need help in completing applications, or providing verbal information for those that are unable to read the written information provided. Consider these factors when determining reasonable steps to accommodating limited English proficiency. Number or proportion of people with limited English proficiency in a service population area. The greater the number, the higher the need. The frequency with which agencies or sponsors have or could expect to have contact with an individual from different language groups seeking assistance. The more frequent the contact with a particular language group, the more likely that enhanced language services in that language are needed. The importance of the service provided. Will denial of the service cause a serious, life-threatening implication? Resources available and the costs involved. Share resources to save money. Sponsors should provide customer service to ensure equity for all and treat all people with dignity. All child nutrition program participants must be allowed equal opportunities to participate in child nutrition programs, regardless of race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability. Listed on this slide are some resources for civil rights: the ODE CNP Civil Rights webpage, the NSLP Household Application in different languages, as well as the CACFP Confidential Income Statement, CIS, in different languages. For more information about LEP, please visit www.lep.gov. For USDA civil rights resources such as posters, complaint forms, and prototype civil rights procedure templates, go to the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program's public website to the Nutrition Civil Rights page. CACFP Center sponsors may also reference the CACFP Policy and Procedure Manual online in Chapter 11. In summary, let's review the Civil Rights Must-Do list. Sponsors must offer any child nutrition program in a non-discriminatory manner. They must train staff annually on civil rights. Document the training on the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program Training Form, and retain the documentation on file for 3 years plus the current fiscal year. They must develop and fully implement the sponsor's civil rights complaint procedure and make available to all staff civil rights complaint forms, civil rights complaint log, and civil rights complaint procedure. Additionally, sponsors must prominently display the "And Justice for All" poster. The non-discrimination statement must be on all printed and electronic materials available to the public which mention USDA and/or Child Nutrition Program meals and snacks. Sponsors must offer meals to all participants in a non-discriminatory manner, and racial and ethnic data must be collected annually. Thank you for participating in the Civil Rights and Child Nutrition Programs training. If you have any additional questions, please contact your assigned child nutrition specialist. We greatly appreciate what you do to fuel Oregon's future.